Listen to them birds. What's going on? Day 4 after my microdiscetomy. L5S1. I haven't made a video up until now. I've made a few posts. I was posting on that the Reddit. There's like a sciatica forum on Reddit I was posting a lot on, and I was getting back to a few people that were having kind of a similar situation to me. It was really nice for me to read a couple of days in the lead up to the operation as many positive stories as I could. So I was trying to reassure one or two people. Felt it was my duty as a back pain sufferer to try to reassure one or two of those Redditors before they went in for their surgery. I just wasn't really arsed making the video up until now, to be honest. I haven't had a lot of energy. I spent a little bit of time, well, quite a lot of time up until today in bed, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the video today, because I've got some new information on that. But I guess I'll take it back to the start. I'll talk about the procedure itself. By the way, day 4 and I'm feeling all right. Okay, I'll cut to the chase in case any of you want to just quit the video there. I'm feeling very fragile a little bit. I'm feeling a little bit like I'm just balanced, like I'm just teetering on top of, like my vertebrae are just very carefully balanced on top of each other, and I could tip over at any stage. I have quite a dull ache and a weakness around my whole lower back area, but that's understandable. As you can imagine, there was a guy in there fiddling around with a few instruments the other day. But yeah, so the morning of the surgery, I was in the hospital at 7 a.m. The hospital, as you can imagine, in the current climate, we're doing pretty well, I think, from what I can see in Ireland, coronavirus wise. So the hospital was very quiet. I was in there by myself. There's no visitors or anything allowed. So I was in a waiting room for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden I was in getting checked and temperature checked and this checked and that checked, and I was in a gown, and it was all happening very quickly. I was waiting in a bed, in my gown and in all my gear, in like a waiting room for maybe 2 hours. There was a couple of different checks over those 2 hours, and I met the surgeon, and I met the anesthesiologist, nurse, however you say that. And then there was, like I said, a few people coming in and checking my temperature, and I had to do a few swabs of my throat. I had to take a swab of my groin for some reason. Wanted to make sure I hadn't got anything funky going on in the groin, and I think I was all clear there. So yeah, this kind of happened over 2 hours, and to be honest, I was feeling pretty shitty lying in the bed for those 2 hours. My sciatica on my right side was quite bad, and only towards the end did they give me a little pillow to put under my knees. Now, I didn't ask for the pillow before that, and yeah, it sucked, but I'm about to go in and have a surgery to get it fixed, so I wasn't really complaining. And then after those 2 hours, the next bit all started to happen quite quick. Porters came to get me. They started wheeling me towards the theatre, and I had hoped that it was going to happen quickly, so I was thinking to myself, right, here we go. The porters start wheeling me in, people start gathering around, and obviously with the lockdown and the social distancing and stuff lately, it was quite strange to have so many people so close to me and around me again. It felt kind of nice, to be honest. I was enjoying it. But yeah, they brought me in, like oxygen mask on. I'm lying down in the operating room. I'm looking around. I can see my MRI is up on a screen, and I can see my surgeon on his laptop. I guess they're planning which way they're going to go in. I can see on the screen there's like a line going into my back, I guess at the angle that they're going to make their attack from. The anesthesiologist says, hey, we're going to put you to sleep. Now, it all happened so quick. He goes, hey, we're going to put you to sleep now. And I just went, okay. I said, okay, thank you. And then I just woke up in a different room, like instantly. I got mask on my face. I was a little bit emotional when I woke up. I was a bit kind of spooked as well. I was kind of just like, whoa, what the fuck was that? Obviously, I'm quite drugged up at the time. I wasn't gibbering or anything, but it was a little bit emotional experience waking up with like no pain. You know, that's the first time in 6 months. Obviously, A, I've just had surgery to relieve the pressure on the nerve, and B, I'm drugged up to my eyebrows. But it was the first time in 6 months that I didn't have that pain, so I was kind of freaking out a little bit. I was saying thank you to everybody. I probably thanked everybody about 50 times. And and I think I was the only person in the recovery room, if I remember them saying. So I was in the recovery room for maybe an hour and a half, just chilling. They took the oxygen mask off about halfway through that. And yeah, people were just talking to me, and I can't even really remember about what now at this stage. I got brought up to a room in the hospital. I had my own room, nice view out the room, and I was just chilling there for maybe 4 or 5 hours. Over those 4 or 5 hours, a few different nurses came, and then eventually a physiotherapist came. The physiotherapist got me up out of the bed, walked me to a gym in the hospital. I was like teetering on my feet a little bit, but I was able to walk. There was steps in the gym that I had to walk up and down, and I felt confident to walk up them. Immobile and very, very stiff, but no sciatica or anything to speak of. And the sciatica, the nerve pain, is what had been the killer for the last 6 months, and none of that to speak of. So I went back to the bed after that, and I think I was chilling in the bed for maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours before they let me go. They said it was up to me. The physio cleared me to go home that evening based on how I was moving on my feet. She said my posture was good and my core stability and stuff was good. They tested like the ability. They put their hands underneath my feet and asked me to push my toes down. I was able to do that quite strong. They asked me to pull my toes up. I was able to do that. I did leg lifts, which were quite sore, but I was able to do them, and she was happy with them. And yeah, they said it was up to me at that stage whether I wanted to stay in for the night or go home. And one thing that my surgeon did say to me, I do remember in the haze after waking up, was don't spend any unnecessary time in here, just get home as soon as you can. So I did. One of my friends came to pick me up that evening. I jumped into his car, and it was a bit strange sitting into the car so soon after like the operation. Sitting is something that I haven't been able to do comfortably since before Christmas. So I was a bit spooked about getting into the car, and he's quite a nice car as well. A Mercedes, quite low to the ground. But I was kind of fine. It was a bit tricky getting in, and it was a bit tricky getting out, but I felt okay in the car. I ate something that evening, and I went to bed. When I went to bed, I was able to sleep flat on my back. I haven't been able to sleep flat on my back in months. When I've been sleeping up until now, I've been putting a rolled up blanket underneath my lower back to keep my lower back into a position of extension. And now I feel that I'm finally able to get my lower back flat comfortably on the bed. So I slept, it was only 6 hours or something that I slept that first night, but that 6 consecutive hours is probably the longest amount of consecutive sleep that I've had since this condition started for me. So yeah, that was day one. I woke up the next morning. I felt tired, I felt stiff. Getting in and out of the bed as well was something that they helped me with in the hospital. They gave me this log roll technique. So you have to sit on the bed, you have to put your 2 arms to one side, and I have to press myself down, head towards the bed as I bring my feet up. So there's no twist or anything, and you're kind of using your arms to brace your core. I was able to do it, but I felt very, very vulnerable. And when I get into the bed, then trying to shimmy myself into a correct position to relax was difficult. But when I was able to get there, it was fine, But moving my butt and my hips side to side on the bed was very touch and go. I felt like I didn't really have any strength or confidence around that area at all. It's day 4 now, and that's a little bit better. I can definitely see improvements, but it still would be the bit that I feel most vulnerable in throughout the day, would be getting up and down from a lying position. But again, hopefully that keeps improving. So then day 1 after the surgery, I kind of split the day between, it was probably like 60% lying in bed. Again, lying completely flat in bed. I have my knees supported by a couple of pillows, and I was doing in the bed a couple of breathing exercises, and I was doing some exercises for my lower body that they would have given me in the hospital. So some circles with my ankle, flexing and holding an extension of my quad, digging my heel into the bed to try to activate the hamstring, doing some glute activations, trying to tense and release my glutes, and then doing some very, very gentle pelvic tilts where I tried to push my lower back into the bed. This is all pain-free but uncomfortable and weak. So the first day I was kind of 60% in bed doing those exercises, and then 40% up on my feet, shuffling around. I definitely aren't limping the way that I would have been limping before, and I definitely don't have the sciatica that I would have had before, but I do still have a discomfort and a sensitivity in the whole area that I would have had that sciatic pain. So a little bit of tingling and numbness in the toes. As I'm standing here now, I can feel a little bit in my calf on the right side, but like nothing like what it was before. Some of the days before, you would nearly be in tears with the pain. I also understand that it's going to be a while before the nerve completely settles down and heals, and so I'm not necessarily worried at all that the nerve still has a bit of a sensation today. So yeah, that was my day for the first day, and I kind of did the same on day 2 and day 3 with a little bit less of a time in bed and a little bit more time on the feet. I stretched as far as I was walking. I kind of went a little bit further down the road and turned back, and I did a little bit more like I'm doing now. I'm lucky to have a nice path in the garden here, and I'm kind of walking up and down in the sun. So I started to increase that over a couple of days, but I was still spending quite a lot of time in bed. I connected with the physiotherapist that works with my surgeon today because I had emailed the surgeon with a couple of questions. One around my dressing, saying what should I be doing there? Am I to leave this plaster over the scar? Am I to take this off? Yeah. Long story short, I'm to leave it on. And another thing was, I said, to date, this is an email I sent on Friday, so late on Friday, so a day after the operation. I said, look, I'm spending most of the day in bed. Is that right or is that wrong? And eventually the surgeon got back to me after the weekend and said, look, you should be avoiding spending time in the bed. And I'm going, what? The physio that visited me in the hospital gave me exercises to do in bed, and the little bit of literature that I have after the surgery, and they gave me like a booklet, it says to alternate between sitting, standing, walking, and lying. Now I'm doing very little sitting so far, but I'll get into that. So they tell me to lie down in the hospital, and then the surgeon after says, oh, you shouldn't really be lying down. And I kind of got to the bottom of that. I ended up having a chat with the physio, and she says that lying down doesn't necessarily have to mean lying down in bed. I should try to get myself down onto the floor and maybe lie down on a yoga mat and do some of those same exercises that I mentioned before from a floor position. This is only 30-40 minutes ago that I was on the call with this lady, so I haven't tried it yet. And as of now, I definitely would feel a little bit cautious in terms of getting down on the floor. Like I said, I feel very fragile, but I'm going to try, obviously, and it's something that I'm going to build towards and hopefully build towards quickly. But yeah, that leads me up to today. So it's early enough in the day now. I got up early enough. I went for a little walk and I went back to bed for an hour, did my exercises in bed. When I say go back to bed, I'm not going to sleep. I'm lying in bed, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm lying flat, knees supported, I'm not twisting around or anything. I actually had to fucking invest in a new mattress as well, so I understand that a firm mattress is certainly recommended for sleeping on post-surgery. And the mattress that I have at the moment, while it's not soft, it is definitely not firm, and there's a noticeable sag in the middle of it. So one thing, not a big one, but there's definitely a sag. And if I look down at my hips when I'm lying in the bed, I notice that maybe they're not as level as they should be, and I feel that that's to do with the softness or the curvature of the mattress. So last night, as I was lying there in bed, I made the decision to invest in a new mattress. So hopefully that pays dividends as well. But yeah, that's me. I've been trying to eat as well as I can, no sugar. I've been taking all my supplements, all my vitamins and minerals. I've been taking my painkillers. Going to the toilet was a little bit tricky. I didn't need to go to the toilet the first couple of days because obviously the fast, and then I'm sure at the fast before the surgery, and then I didn't eat pretty much at all the day of the surgery until the evening. So I didn't need to go for an help until a couple of days after the surgery, and it was a bit touch and go, to be honest, because obviously you need to there's certain bracing movements of your core that you want to make to, you know what I'm talking about here. And I didn't really feel confident to make those, which was one reason, obviously on top of just the obvious, it was one reason that I wanted to make sure to stay extra on top of a good diet, because I don't want to be feeling sick or bloated or anything like that if I'm having trouble going for an help. But long story short, yesterday the eagle left the nest, so that was okay. TMI, I'm sure, for some of you, but look, it needs to be said. And yeah, here I am today. So day 4 post the operation. Stiff, a little bit sore, a little bit tired. Definitely still some sensation in my leg along where the sciatica would have been, but absolutely nothing like what it was before. Walking with less of a limp, although there's some new sensations in my leg that I wouldn't have had before. Different sensations that I hope are part of the healing process. They definitely aren't worse than what I had before. I've felt a lot of like tingling and twitching around my whole right leg. Obviously the nerve, I'm sure there's quite a lot of activity in the surgery, and then the nerve is going to experience quite a lot of relief, I'm sure. I'm not sure how it works, but I'm sure the nerve is going, Jesus, that's great, after being impinged for so long. So I'm kind of twitching, and my foot is kind of freaking out a little bit sometimes when I'm lying down, but it's not necessarily sore. And yeah, there I am. So day 4 post the op, feeling pretty good-ish. I've lost a good bit of weight. Obviously I haven't like exercised before this. I would have done jiu-jitsu every day of the week, and I would have lifted weights with an intent of gaining a little bit of muscle. I would have done that 3 times or 4 times a week. I was about 79 or 80 kilos, pretty lean, before I had my troubles. Before I hurt myself in October. I remember, because I did a jiu-jitsu competition in October, which was the last day I did jiu-jitsu, and I had to weigh in for the competition, and I remember I was about 79 kilos. And then they weighed me in the hospital. I don't have a scales in the house, but they weighed me in the hospital, and I was 75 point something. So I've definitely lost a good bit of muscle mass. I can see it in myself as well, from not exercising the way that I wanted to. And I'm really looking forward to being able to move again, in different ways. Putting on a big lot of muscle mass isn't something that I'm keen to do. I don't mean it like that. But I mean, I can see a change in my body from the last 6 months. Whether that's a positive or a negative or a necessary change, who knows? Maybe it was necessary to lose that weight in order to help the body heal. But I'm looking forward to seeing a positive change in my body over what I hope is over the next 6 months. I'll check back in again in a couple of days. I'm glad I got this video out of the way. I just really wasn't arsed. It probably would have been better to make the video closer to the surgery, because I'm sure that I'm leaving things out here that I should have probably documented. But I was just lying in bed, and I just didn't really think I'd be able to get it out coherently. I didn't think I'd be able to talk for the 15 or 20 minutes without kind of going, so there you go. That's me. I really appreciate all the love, appreciate all the support, and that was like my first surgery of any real consequence. I had a surgery when I was 16 for ingrown toenail from playing too much soccer in my David Beckham Adidas Predators. But that was the only time I ever had an operation, so I was kind of freaking out about going into the hospital. But it's honestly not that bad of an experience. And if you've had the steroid injection, the experience of the steroid injection, pain-wise and traumatic-wise, is way worse than the operation, for me anyway. Obviously, I came out of the steroid injection without feeling like I was hit by a bus. And I kind of do feel a little bit like I've been hit by a bus now. But the experience on the day in the hospital of the steroid injection was horrible. Felt like they were ripping when they put this into your, oh, I don't even want to talk about it. It felt like the hamstring was going to come off the bone. It was rotten. And the same with the fucking coronavirus test. Absolutely knacker. 2 foot up your nose. But I'm sore. I had a surgery on my lower back, but the experience itself isn't actually that bad. So yeah, stay strong. Semper Fi. And I'll see you out there in the streets.